Hello and welcome to the GW6 edition of the FPL Score podcast. I am your host Matthias, with my co-host Kevin on the FPL Score podcast. And we're going to discuss a lot of things, but let's just talk about the main match of the weekend first between Arsenal and Man City. A lot of people had a lot of opinions about that game, and for me, it sounds like a lot of people have written off Man City entirely as a league title contender. Seems like most people are just busy criticizing Arsenal for not going for it to beat Liverpool for the league. And no one's really paying attention to the fact that Man City sort of were sitting back and trying to get what they wanted, really, which was not a loss, at least. But anyways, what is your opinions? I know you are a big Man City proponent, Pep Guardiola lover. What do you think? Is City done as a team? Are they done as title contenders? Or what do you think?
No, because I think it's pretty fair to say that if you can't write off Arsenal, Liverpool for that matter as being first, and City, I don't think it's fair to make that sort of assessment about either team because I think Liverpool have been very lucky to scrape the points that they have done and so many wins at that. I think Arsenal have also been hard done by in several games, but also shown a sort of lack of killer instinct against both City and Liverpool. But I've also think that City haven't shown haven't stepped into that third gear that a lot of people expect, me included, have expected from them as we've seen them be champions in the past. And I still think with all teams, there's a lot of extra gears for them to step into. I think in Liverpool's sort of benefit, Isak needs to start going and get going, and Salah too, for that matter, because he's been sort of fraudulent with some of his returns so far. I think Saka is obviously a big miss for Arsenal and has barely really gone to play him. Odegaard just being injured doesn't help anything, and there's a lot of these sort of things that are fracturing and hampering Arsenal. City, the same thing with, I don't think Rodri is completely 100% yet. Erling Haaland is in fantastic form, and even this
Yeah.
is considered his slowest start to a Premier League season, even though he's scoring goals for fun. So I think all three teams have a lot more to show, and it's just very fortunate for Liverpool and Liverpool fans that despite everything, Liverpool have been able to scrape together the points like champions do. This is champions level of football, just winning by the scruff of the hair and last minute. And in Liverpool's case, it's always usually pretty last minute, especially with Salah getting returns very late. And yeah, um, Federico Chiesa is looking good as well, as we
Yeah.
saw in the cup game.
Yes.
They're just getting things going, and Isak obviously scored a debut goal in the cup for them and all this type of stuff in the very cup that they ended up losing to him in the final of last year, which was obviously a source of pride for me because it's just fun seeing a Swede get the better out of Liverpool now. Sadly, he's joined the enemy and
Yeah.
become a red fascist, but here we are.
Fair enough. Yeah, this podcast is going to be a lot about City, and specifically Haaland, who you mentioned is basically in the form of his life, despite this being his quote unquote slowest start to the Premier League, just because he scored less goals than he has previously in the start of seasons. But most people didn't start the season with him. You did, and you can see by your rank that was a good decision because you're 219k now after another good week of Haaland scoring and getting points. So a lot of people are now jumping onto Haaland. But speaking of our team, actually, we can just go straight into it. This is your score from this past game week, 61 points, very much helped by 18 points from your two City guys, Haaland and Reijnders. 9 points each for those guys. Reijnders got 2 defensive contribution points that he really shouldn't have gotten because he only got 11 defensive contributions, but Opta counted the stats wrongly, and then when it was time to change it, it was already too late to change the score for the game week. So yeah, 9 points from Reijnders. Good from him anyway. We know that he is this good. He can score against Arsenal, get goals or assists as he did. And it went to Haaland as well. So City only scored the 1 goal, which is what I sort of expected because Arsenal's defense don't really concede that many goals. But the goal was maximized for points when it comes to your team, with Reijnders with 9 points and Haaland with 9 points. Salah also had an assist for Liverpool against Everton, your favorite team. Senesi also with 9 points, which was huge for you. You also bench boosted this week, which was not the best. You got 10 points? No, sorry. Bad at maths.
12.
8,
12.
12 points. which is not ideal. But like I usually say with the bench boost chip, I started to call it a bench burden chip. Like it's just basically there to just annoy you and make sure that your team is not as good as it should be. So I think you've gotten rid of a stupid chip anyway. But now you use free hit chip, gaming 3, wildcard chip, gaming 4, bench boost chip, gaming 5. And you have that triple captaincy chip left, and GW6 is looking like a pretty good option for that as well. But first and foremost, speak of your team for GW5. What are you happy with? What are you unhappy with? You recently wildcarded, of course, in GW4. And you have a pretty good setup now with both Salah and Haaland, which is going to be something we are going to discuss as well when we come to the wildcard section of this podcast. But yeah, how is your team looking? Are you happy with the team? Anything that bothers you? What went right and what went wrong in this past game week? Anything you could have done differently?
Yeah, no, I was always a little bit shaky with Sanchez after the comments made by Maresca, and also just not liking the look of Chelsea defense as of late. So I thought about potentially bringing him in for Pope, but I also did sort of want Semenyo and the Bournemouth boys to score in that game. So it was a little bit of a I'll wait, I'll wait, I'll wait. And then I didn't end up doing it. And now I actually have two transfers, which is unlike me because I always shift something quite quickly. So yeah, it bit me in the ass in the most spectacular way. But of course, Arsenal play Newcastle next week, for example. And I don't really love doubling up on uh, goalkeepers and defense and all this type of stuff. I like spreading it out, as you can see in my defenders, as I don't have a single double up from defense. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty unhappy with Pedro Porro and Spurs in general. I mean, Brighton at home seem to just be a good side. I think
Yeah,
that
I would
sort
agree.
of confirms it that
Yeah,
they're back to being at their best at the
at the
Amex,
Amex. Yeah,
and fair enough to them. Obviously, the most brain dead red card I've seen in a long while, and I absolutely hate that they give minus for someone who's already been sent off.
yeah, it
But
makes sense though.
it should, but it does make perfect sense because it is his fault that they're conceding goals. So, really frustrating, really annoyed, really happy that I bench boosted to gain back some of the points lost there. Fucking asshole.
But are you happy
And
that you bench boosted though? Because 12 points is not what you want from a bench boost.
yeah, sure.
But you
It would
got
have been a
like
pretty.
it wasn't the worst either. Like it's 3 points per player. It's not the worst.
It's not the worst, and I don't think my bench will get this much points like ever again because I put so much love into the main side. So
Yeah,
whatever, in my opinion.
yeah,
Um, I'd rather not have like a 20 pointer on my bench and just have that 20 pointer fielded in that
yeah.
regard. So, you know what? I'll take it. King, you absolute idiot. Fulham quite literally did not look like they were going to concede except for him giving the ball away straight away to one of the players who's just
I mean,
buried it and then gets a yellow card for simulation.
since you
Was
don't
it
have a
that?
full, since you don't, yeah, simulation as well. Since you don't have a full on defender, that wasn't the worst thing that he gave a goal to
No,
to
of
Brentford.
course.
But he should have been amongst the goals when they scored 3 goals. That was the thing. Like he could
Yeah,
have scored easily, or
for
like
sure.
should have really been involved at that time. And Al Smith
Yeah.
Rowe scored in the cup, so yeah, he's even more in danger of losing his place now.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's the reason why he's riding the bench because in no world um, would I ever bench Reijnders. I'm not my brother who benched him game week one when he got what was it, a goal and assist.
Yeah,
And I'm not like
me
my co-host who put him third bench, which is crazy talk. But
against
all
an
things
Arsenal defender.
considered, yeah, all things considered, unlucky with Dewsbury Hall. Again, he's always so close every single game to get like an assist or
He's in
get a
great
goal.
positions too.
So I'm really unhappy or unlucky with him because the one time he hauled was the one time I free hit away from him, and so it's very unlucky with that. Semenyo just getting returns by just being a freak of nature and getting what was it, DEFCON this time around,
Yeah,
and
Defcon a clean sheet.
yeah, and Gyökeres again looked dead in the water in that game. Honestly, he did not look very good against City. Juan Pedro probably could have done better if Maresca was a better coach and did not sub out every single creative and attacking outlet
Yeah,
that could have helped Juan Pedro to help even maybe even earn a draw in that game
Yeah.
because once they went to 10 men as well, it was an open game and
Could have used
could
someone
have
like
easily
Nkunku who scored for Milan this weekend.
exactly who again is better than most Chelsea players
Yeah.
anyways. Um, that being said, very happy with Haaland. Like the minute he got the ball and the minute they did that 1-2 touch and all this type of stuff, I knew it was going to be a goal. I was owed this last week when I had Haaland as captain and I had Reijnders starting, and they failed to do the link up, which cost me 11 points. So thank you very much for regaining that for me because it was a great goal. I mean, of course, Arsenal fans, rightfully so, will give I believe Saliba a stick for that. But at the end of the day, Holland in that sort of form is just going to be scoring. Even if it hadn't happened there, it probably would have happened somehow. I was just like, I understand that a lot of people wrote City off, but to be fair to them, two people who were in the midweek, amongst the midweek goals contributions against, what was it, Napoli, combined again. So fair enough. Like I'm very happy with them. Richards got DEFCON. Well done, I guess. But yeah, overall, maybe not the best week. And I'm still annoyed because I was considering captaining Haaland because I did have an inkling that he would do better than Salah. I am happy uh, that Salah didn't do much against Everton,
Yeah.
which is also why it's doubly annoying because I think it was a little bit of rank saving, and I should have just gone differential to be honest, and just kept Haaland captain. But other than that, I can't really complain. I think it's been a good game week. 60 is what I always aim for, so getting 61 with the bench boost, nice. And
Yeah.
that's including -3 because Sanchez is an idiot.
Yeah, Sanchez. Yeah. Yeah, Sanchez is definitely the worst player of the game week for sure. -3 points. And also with the comments, like you mentioned, right before the game even started, before he got the -3, the comments that he's going to miss some games anyway because of rotation and stuff. So, and I think that's going to be even more viable now since he made such a massive blunder and got a red card. Maresca even said so
Yeah,
himself.
so the
like,
fucking guy just went, I'm going to take this into my own hands and get sent off.
yeah. And Maresca even said himself that, like, I would have preferred to just go down 1-0 rather than going down one man because, yeah, it's much worse playing with 10
It
men.
makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand goalkeepers who think that that's like the right decision to make because he was in dead man's land anyways
Yeah.
with that rush. He should have just stayed between the sticks, actually believed in his defenders. And like you said, legitimately make an attempt at the ball. That wasn't even close.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of feel a bit vindicated as well. Like two of the reasons that I didn't go for Sanchez is first and foremost the thing that they mentioned about him potentially rotating in games because he did that last season against Southampton and Ipswich, like two really good fixtures. He was rotated for no reason before he even lost his place as the number one goalkeeper, and also the fact that he just has these mistakes in him and his plays as like the number one goalkeeper, even though that was like sort of secured before the start of the season, it's just not that secure really. So yeah, we'll see. We'll come to your game week 6 plans as well, see if you have any plans for him. We'll talk about that, but first and foremost, let's go through the other teams that we have to talk about. And one of them is Kimo's team, and he has another benching blunder again with Nico Williams with 10 points on the bench as third bench. For some reason, decided to play the Burnley defenders rather than the Sunderland defenders, but it sort of worked out in terms of Dubravka and Estev with 4 points each. 8 points from two defenders is not too bad. But Nico Williams scoring the goal and almost scoring another as well. Like only Dubravka, like a really good save from Dubravka, saved a brace from Nico Williams, which would have been absolutely amazing and absolutely awful for Kimo. But 44 points were Florian Wirtz with 0 points, didn't start the game, came on, got a yellow card, and that was it basically. Watkins still as well, 2 points. Wood with 2 points. A lot of duds in this team, but at least for Kimo, he has Bruno Fernandes, who's actually been performing so far this season. He has actually looked like a pretty decent option overall. Kudus also, once again, flunked his way into 2 assists, quite luckily. So he has 4 assists from basically just doing nothing really so far. So yeah, lucky there with 7 points from Kudus at least, but 44 points from Kimo. Not the best. 0 transfers made though, so he has 3 transfers I think in the bank and all chips remaining. So there's at least some positives to take from Kimo's season, but he has not had a good start of the season. Kimo, who's the third founding member of the FPL Score podcast, basically. But yeah, what do you think of Kimo's decision making so far this season, especially this game week 5? Can you see why he would go for Burnley defenders against what was it, against Forest rather than Forest defenders against Burnley, or yeah, what do you reckon with his team selection and decisions to make no transfers as well when he had this team going into game week 5?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest. He clearly doesn't watch our videos or take heed any of our advice
Yeah,
and is just enjoying his life because
in
I
Egypt, yeah.
don't understand I don't understand why again Aston Villa for example like why are you so hell-bent on fielding Aston Villa defenders like
Good
they can't
fixtures,
score.
Sunderland
Yeah,
at the
yeah, but
Stadium of Light.
Sunderland, yeah, where they like constantly score. So I don't
Yeah,
understand why you wouldn't go with the frame of mind like, oh, Williams might be able to keep a clean sheet against Burnley because I thought that might end 0-0 sort of thing. So
yeah,
it only ended 1-1, and also thankfully due to Dubravka, who was amazing in that game.
7 saves, yeah.
But I would have much preferred playing Williams over Konsa, for example. You know what? Dewsbury Hall got 1 point more than Vert, so have some of that. But all things considered, I would have started Williams. I think it's a bit of a mistake, and I also think it's a mistake to keep him third bench out of all places. But you and him might share something in, and I did say that both of you will have benched the Hull on the third bench, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So I am grateful to you both. In his instance, because he benched a good player. In your instance, because it's the player I started. So thank you. Use your chips. They're there for a reason. You have 14 more weeks to use them, or 14? Yeah, 14 more weeks to, or 14 game weeks to use them. Start using them. Have some fun. What are you doing?
Yeah, pretty much. We'll see what he does eventually. Game week 6 is a good time to use one of those chips potentially. We'll get to that as well with Kimo's team. I think he has some options with 3 free transfers. I think it's just one pretty clear option for me at least for what he should do, but we'll get to that eventually in this podcast as well. Then finally, a manager who did much better this week with 71 points. You weren't even that far off, but you also used a chip, so you were ineligible to be the manager of the week because the manager of the week is always someone that hasn't used a chip. So 71 points was the highest score we had in the FPL School Mini League without using a chip. A lot of people actually used a chip this week, mostly bench boosts really this past game week. So like a couple fewer managers to choose from this time around, but 71 points, basically with all the players that I don't have in my team scoring points, pretty much. Haaland with 18 points as the captain, Reijnders with 9 points, Fernandes with 10 points, Anderson with, Anderson I do have, but Senesi with 9 points as well, and Dubravka with the 4 points in goal. All players that I didn't start or have this game week, and they did really well and were actually the main reason why Max Smithson became the manager of the week. So this team is looking pretty good. There's no Salah, obviously, but that's not the worst thing going into the next 2 games against Crystal Palace away and Chelsea away. Like 2 pretty tough fixtures there for Liverpool. But they do score in every single game, and they will have to have someone to score the goals. But at least in this instance, there's Gakpo there to at least be some cover for Liverpool. And Gakpo's actually scored some points, unlike Wirtz so far this season. But there's also Palace away, which is tough in general. But yeah. Avoided any Sanchez thing. No Sanchez in this team. Dubravka and Verbruggen. Not the best goalkeeper pairing, I think, but Dubravka at least got 4 points. So all in all, a pretty good game week, all things considered. Munoz conceded against West Ham. That was a bit unfortunate, I guess, because Palace were sort of favored to not concede in that game. But other than that, it went pretty well. Joe Pedro was also the other dud because of the red card in the Man United Chelsea game. But a lot of other points from elsewhere, especially with Fernandes with 10 points there once again. So, yeah, 0 transfers made as well, 2 free transfers, or 2 million in the bank, I should say. And also all chips available for this manager, who I think is like right inside the top million. I think this manager actually has 2 points more than me, so it's like right ahead of the 1 million mark. So pretty good start to the season, pretty solid team without any chips used so far. But some like kind of off-putting players there also on the bench, especially Murillo, who was injured for this game week, and Johnson, who just doesn't really play that much for Spurs really. But yeah, looking at this team, any like things you notice straight away that you would want to fix, any players you would want to sell, any players you want to bring in for this team, and what do you think overall of the game week and the players selected here?
Yeah, good players, and the fact that it's pretty remarkable that he hasn't used a single chip, which is pretty well done. But to really maximize the good start, it's time to use some chips. And I think one definitely that's in the card is obviously triple captaining Haaland. I
Mm.
also think that you could definitely move away from Johnson. I think Mateta might have had his run now as well. So depending on how much transfers they have saved, which
Two.
might be, yeah, I think it's time to make some $1 million moves and get in some players because there are some glaring omissions. I think the lack of Arsenal is not the best. I understand next week isn't maybe the easiest game, but
Yeah.
their fixtures do take a pretty nice turn. So my recommendation would be to look into some future moves and potentially using a chip. But well done, Anderson and Senesi. That's a pretty good pick, and if especially if he's had them for a while now.
Yeah.
And yeah, credit to you. There's some good looking players here and some good players you can look out for as well, including the stock as Gyökeres and potentially a Gabriel as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also Arsenal is going to be the priority eventually for this team. I don't think there's like a massive need for like a overhaul with like a wildcard or anything like that. There's no like huge duds in the team apart from like the Johnson and Murillo sort of players, but they aren't really highly owned and they won't really get down in price that much. Maybe Murillo might be, but I think you have time for one more game week when he has, I think it's Sunderland next now for Nottingham Forest, Sunderland at home. So that is a decent fixture for him anyway. If he's back fit, that's also going to be the question for Murillo, basically. But yeah, 71 points. Good game week, of course. Manager of the week for Max Smithson, and we will talk about your team for the next game week and a little bit beyond that potentially as well towards the end of this podcast, as we usually do. But now we're done with Game Week 5. Let's move on to future predictions and the matches that we have for Game Week 6. And we haven't actually decided yet which, or I haven't asked you really, which teams or which games you want to cover. Because usually we cover 3 games, one that I pick, one that you pick, and one that we have picked both of us. And of course, our own 2 teams play each other this time around, Everton against West Ham. So I guess that will be the one that we talk about, both of us. For me, I think just basing off of the predictions, I'm interested to talk about Newcastle Arsenal because I have 1-0 Arsenal. You have 2-2 in that game, which was really surprising to me, that prediction. So I want to talk about that. So Newcastle Arsenal, Everton, West Ham. What's the third game you want to talk about out of these fixtures, do you think?
Out of those fixtures, I think the most interesting that could wait, am I right or left again?
You're right. Green.
Okay, cool. What the hell? What the hell? What am I saying? United are gonna draw. Okay, anyways, what is this garbage predictions? Yeah, I think the fun ones to talk about would be Chelsea Brighton, because I think it could be actually a bit closer, like you said.
Yeah.
I think obviously Man City,
Yeah,
Burnley
we can touch on the Haaland thing, but that we're going to talk about that eventually. We're going to talk about
yeah,
Man City
fine.
assets on the in the fixture ticker
Sure.
itself.
I
So
Aston Villa, Fulham, and Newcastle, Arsenal would be the ones. I mean, obviously Everton, West Ham, but I think we're too much in agreement about it.
yeah, I mean we don't have you don't have to talk about that, but yeah, Aston Villa Fulham, is that a really interesting game? I don't know.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, for me, I think it's just interesting because I don't own any of those players. And do you still own Aston Villa assets?
Yeah, Rogers. I have Rogers and Anderson playing against each other. So for now, at least, I have one free transfer left as well. So I have to see what I do with that. I might sell Rogers. I might just bench him as well because I do quite like his Burnley at home fixture next week. But I do kind of want to bench him. I have looked into potentially getting Senesi, so I might just get Senesi as like another defender that I can use, and then bench Rogers and have him ready for the next game week before I sell him finally for Pakistan Game Week 8, which is my plan currently. But yeah, let's go through the games and the predictions. First and foremost, Brentford against Man United. I have a 3-1 win for Man United. You have a 2-2 draw, so you obviously don't feel like Man United will win consecutive games and help that guy cut his hair eventually.
No, never.
That's never going to happen. But yeah, so 3-1 I have for Man United, 2-2 you have between them, Brentford and Man United. Brentford have been like better at home at least, so maybe that will change or help them get a result here. But we'll see. Then Chelsea Brighton, which is a team or a game that we're going to talk about. I have 2-2 and you have 3-1, sort of the opposite of the Man United Brentford sort of thing, where I have a draw and you have a win for Chelsea. Because honestly, I haven't been that impressed with Chelsea so far this season. I think their wins have been like kind of like eeky, except for West Ham, of course. They destroyed West Ham, but who doesn't really? But I don't think they've looked that good, and especially last game with the red card and everything. Sanchez is not going to be suspended for this game, at least, against his former club. But I'm not sure if that's a positive or a negative at this point, because I don't really rate him as a goalkeeper. I never really have. But yeah, also Chelsea are going to be without Cole Palmer, it seems like. 3 to 6 weeks is what is the reported injury news with him. Which should also potentially open up things for Enzo Fernandez. We've seen how he's been really good in the absence of Palmer, so he's like a sneaky good free hit pick, I think, for this game. Because I think, like, we both think there's going to be goals in this game. I have 2-2, you have 3-1. We both have 4 goals in total in this match. So I went with a draw, because I don't think Chelsea have been that good. They are playing at home at least, and Brighton are playing away, so that's going to be a positive for them. But I think Brighton are just a team that get results against these bigger teams. Like, they've shown that in the past as well. They can lose 7-0 against Nottingham Forest, and they all of a sudden beat Man City 2 seasons in a row. So yeah, what made you go with a 3-1 Chelsea prediction and in this game basically?
As a team, as someone who supports a team in blue that's played Brighton at home, yeah, go on. We smashed them to pieces, even though XG wise and all this type of said showed lucky as all hell, because Tarkowski literally put his hands on his head and they missed. So Admitova decided to score, the Puskas award instead of just taking an easier finish. So I'm very lucky, and Welbeck sucks. Yeah, I think a part of me also, me, I love a storyline. I think you love a storyline because you're considering Mbuemo against United. I'm considering Juan Pedro against Brighton. And I think that's the sort of where I see it, that I think sometimes these players just love to show up against their former clubs. And doing this, classic, like, I'm not going to celebrate, even though this is a bit of a celebration, rather than just getting on with it. This whole statement, like when Ronaldo does oh, I'm so sorry. Like, what you're doing. Like, I don't hate people who organically do it, but when you make such a pompous ass of yourself to not do that, you know what you're doing. You know exactly. Or you're Demboos and just celebrate like crazy and start celebrate like running into the pitch and or whatever the hell. So, like, either you do that, you celebrate like crazy,
or your style.
Or you go about it like as if it was nothing. You don't do this fake muted half-ass sort of celebration. I want you to either whole ass it or just get on with it. Don't do the whole like I'm trying to be. No, you're not. No, you're not trying to be humble and respectful and stuff like that. Especially the Ronaldo one. You know exactly what he did, like all this stuff. Because I remember when James did that as a Bayern player against Real Madrid, and it was the funniest, corniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I loved it because, he scored against Real Madrid and he scored a brace of all things. But yeah, I just think that Chelsea, after the blunder of that, a good win against Lincoln, even though Lincoln actually,
that's generous.
Whatever. It is pretty generous because Lincoln were completely battered them. But but all things considered, Chelsea didn't start.
They went through.
Yeah, they went through, and I think Chelsea will want to bounce back after sort of a dwindling result against Bayern, a dwindling result against United, where they were expected to win. I think this would be a bounce back game for them. And I think, like you said, Enzo still has impressed me. I've liked what I've seen of him all season. I've been saying for years now that he's a great center mid. And Caicedo is all of a sudden piquing my interest as maybe a FPL choice, because what the hell? Like, I'm not ever going to pick him because that is stupid, because he doesn't score enough or assist enough to.
But what are you making of like all these like central midfielders, defensive midfielders? Gravenberch now as well this past game week.
Yeah.
Caicedo, like Anton Stach, like there have been so many like central midfielders, defensive midfielders. Zubimendi scored twice in the same game. Is this like a new trend? Because like I noticed like Rodri's Ballon d'Or season, he was a defensive midfielder or like a central midfielder at least, and he scored like 10 goals. So I'm thinking like usually it's like people are like 2 years behind Guardiola in terms of tactics. So maybe this is like a new thing, like central midfielders drifting into the box and scoring. You saw Krejci as well for Wolves also scored. Like there's so many examples of this.
Of course, but I think it's just one of those things where some of these players just get more space than they're meant to because there's such a focal point on the attackers and wingers that gives them the freedom to take a strike and all these type of things. So for me, it's more to do with like, of course, there is absolutely a trend and stuff like that, but you can harken back to the good old days of like Scholes, Iniesta, the Xavi, this player, that player. Like there are so many examples of midfielders who can just rifle a ball in. The question is whether they can show the same sort of consistency that Rodri did. You know,
Yeah.
can a CDM score 10 goals in one seat, like that sort of thing? I think Enzo can. I think potentially Declan Rice can if he takes more shots, because I think that's the one thing I've seen less of Declan Rice this season. I feel like he's not shooting as much.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we know this with their captain and Norwegian king, Martin Odegaard. Like, he's not taking enough shots, in my opinion.
He's
So I
injured, so
think
it's
it just
tough.
all depends. Huh?
He's injured, so it's tough to take shots. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. But even when he was playing, you know that he doesn't finish enough like he used to. I mean, he used to be like a 10, 15 goals a season sort of guy. And now he's
Yeah,
just
he lost his shooting touch last season. He was terrible at it for some reason.
6 to 7 if you're lucky, and if four of them are peds sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think sure that it might be a trend or something like that. But I genuinely believe that we need to see more consistency before we fall into the trap. Everyone was
Yeah.
masturbating over Elliot Anderson. And I'm like, okay, how's that working out for you? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think potentially, like, in regards to that, I wouldn't put too much weight into it. Still attack for the wingers, the Semenyos, the NGI
Enjoy, yeah.
sort of player, then, oh, I'm 100% going to go with stock and all these type of things. Though his free kick was incredible, but
Yeah.
we need to see consistency. Like
Yeah.
let's like some people are like, oh, he's the new James Ward-Prowse. I'm like, what? He scored
Yeah.
a free kick. Relax. Like
Yeah.
it's not like
I
he's
mean,
taken like
Ward-Prowse hasn't scored a free kick in like 2 years, so maybe it
yeah,
is the
but that's
next
also because
Ward-Prowse.
that's also because he plays for West Ham. So
Mm.
uh yeah, he does. And
Had
these
several
they're
good
like
chances to
the
score a free kick. It's not because he plays for
sure.
West Ham. Free kick is an
It
individual
is
thing.
because he plays for West
It's
Ham.
an
It's like
individual thing. It's not a
have you
team
seen
effort.
there's this film from the 90s called Space Jam where when they touch the football, it's basically what happened to Ward Prowse. He put on the West Ham jersey and all of a sudden all the powers got sucked out of him and went to David Sullivan's pocket. So,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there, but no, he's obviously just been a bit unlucky. I don't think he's
He scored an
surely
Olympico,
not
but he
ha
hasn't scored a free kick.
but he's
Scored from
also
a
been
corner.
unlucky going out on loan to Nottingham Forest, all types of
Didn't play
random
there
crap.
either.
Just send him to Everton. So, what are we doing here? Just send him to Everton. We don't need him, but I'd still take him.
He plays every game now though for West Ham, so
Yeah, because Graham Potter, the terrorist, is
yeah,
largely getting
he knows what he's
to
doing.
play him until he gets sacked.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, either way, Chelsea, Brighton. You think Joe Pedro will have a statement game? I hope not, because I don't have him still, and I don't really
Yeah.
plan on getting him either. I don't feel like it's worth a move at this point, especially since they have Liverpool next game week. But he's definitely someone that I'm monitoring, and he's been good so far, of course. But he has also just mostly scored from corners, really. So we'll see what happens there. But interesting game nonetheless. I think it's going to be high scoring as usual with Brighton games and also with Chelsea games. Honestly, there's quite a lot of goals in them. So I think that it's going to be a goal fest, and it's going to be a really interesting game. All in all, basically. Crystal Palace against Liverpool. Also an interesting game. I'm actually gone with Liverpool finally losing some points this time around with 1-1 draw, because I think Crystal Palace is that type of team. They have been getting results against bigger teams in the past. They also have a pretty good recent history with Liverpool, beating them in the Community Shield. So yeah, I'm hoping at least for like a draw here. I think it's just like Liverpool have played every single game almost this season very evenly. And at some point it's going to have to bite them in the ass. So I go with 1-1, you go with a like regular 2-1. I'm guessing again with a late goal to decide it for Liverpool once again. Could happen, I guess. But yeah, let's hope not. Leeds against Bournemouth, we also kind of agree on that, or we do kind of agree on that, actually. We haven't agreed on the 3 first fixtures, but this one we do agree on. 2-0 for Bournemouth for me, 2-1 for Bournemouth for you. You think Leeds will score? Probably Calvert-Lewin, who'll ruin your clean sheet for Senesi. We'll see if that happens or not. Man City against Burnley, we also very much agree. 4-0 for me, 5-0 for you. Triple captain Haaland is all I'm going to say about that. We don't really need to talk too much about this game. We're going to talk more about City assets pretty soon with the fixture ticker. Nottingham Forest against Sunderland, I gone with a 1-1 draw because I think both teams are or Sunderland at least are pretty solid, and Nottingham Forest, I don't really know what to make of them. But you apparently have a lot of faith in Ange Postecoglou now because you have a 3-0 Nottingham Forest win, which is interesting to me. Just quick comments about that. Like, what makes you feel like they're gonna batter Sunderland, who haven't really conceded that many goals so far this season?
Yeah, I just feel like this could be their. This is like a good bounce back fixture for most teams, and I think just Nottingham Forest at home should be able to sort it out. Morgan Gibbs White, Chris Wood, Igor Jesus, that is the name, right?
Yeah, you
Is
reduce.
amongst the goals as well, and yeah, it just for whatever reason, it just came calling to me like a easy win for them. I don't think it's necessarily fair to Sutherland, and I don't think it's necessarily fair to Nottingham Forest current sort of form. But I don't know. Like sometimes teams just randomly get a good restart match like that. I
Yeah,
think it's similar to why we think Spurs are going to back. I mean, obviously Wolves are terrible, but they did
yeah,
beat Everton in the cup. But of
yeah,
course,
and West Ham in the cup.
both teams both teams played like weaker 11s and all
Yeah,
this type of stuff. And Strand Larson is back as well. And yeah, you just some teams just get gifted gimme sort of reset matches, including City with their match in Burnley, unless Hannibal decides to score a hat trick, which would be ridiculous. So, yeah, I think it's just that. I think it's just a good reset match for them. I think
yeah,
Postecoglou needs it. I think Nottingham Forest needs it, and yeah, I think it'll just be a good game for them.
yeah. They did create a lot of chances against Burnley. 7 saves from Dubravka there. So yeah, they
Hmm.
have it in them, and it's going to be interesting to see Nottingham Forest in general. I think with how they set up now with Postecoglou, a lot of changes this past game. They played a lot of new players. Bakwa, who I didn't really realize was a player before he started playing for Nottingham Forest at the right wing there. Interesting. Douglas Luiz played the whole game and didn't really affect Elliot Anderson's DEFCON points because he got 15 DEFCON or defensive contributions, Anderson, but he also took corners away from Anderson, so even less of a goal threat for Anderson, who's not really, yeah, he's just going to be a DEFCON pick basically at this point. But anyways, Forest, I think it's going to be more even because Sunderland have just done enough for me to give them that respect. But it's also the one and only game at that time frame, which is going to be interesting. Certainly an interesting TV game, really. Spurs against Wolves. We both have a pretty handedly good result for Spurs. 3-0 for me, 3-1 for you. Strand Larsen is back, so maybe he'll score. Maybe he'll do it. Like, it seems like he is. Well, of course, he is a really good player, so he's gonna make Wolves better. It just remains to be seen how much better he'll make Wolves. I think that's gonna be a big question because they certainly need something because they are looking really bad currently. Aston Villa against Fulham. I have a 1-0 Fulham win. I just still don't really believe in Aston Villa's attack. They haven't shown anything so far to tell me otherwise, that they're going to score a lot of goals all of a sudden. So I don't really know what happened to Aston Villa. Just to talk a little bit about that as well. Like, what do you make of their really rough start? Like, is this like just a sign of things to come? Like, why has this happened? They have largely kept the same players. They haven't lost any like major players. So why have they lost all their powers all of a sudden?
There's this film in the 90s called Space Jam. No, but I think partially these sort of hoodoos happen to great teams. Like we've seen this happen in the past where players start shaking in their boots, start believing in the hoodoos, start overthinking things, and etc. Like I don't know if you saw the chance that Watkins missed against Sunderland to basically win the game in the end. It's stuff like that, and Cash almost scored again from that same chance because both of them ran towards the ball and both of them missed it. I think what the Aston Villa of last year would have buried that and won that game. So
Yeah.
I think it's just partially just a little bit of bad luck and a little bit of the players overdoing and overthinking it. And frankly, some of them just are not performing to their capabilities. So a part of me thinks that they just need to get their get themselves together and to regroup. And I think a part of me thinks that this might not be the game for that, but I think they'll run away with the point. I could also see them winning because there is only such a finite amount of time before question marks surround Emery. And I
Yeah,
think also the players like Watkins has blanked in 5 game weeks. Rogers
yeah,
has blanked in 5 game weeks. Like two of the most lethal players
yeah.
in the Prem last season, just absolutely awful. And Emmy Martinez, what more can he do? Konsa, what more can like th- something's got to give. And I think this might be a game where they come really close, but they're full of scoring like very late. Because I just don't think that for whatever reason they can just get it across the line. So I do see Aston Villa taking the lead first and then Fulham equalizing
Yeah.
rather than the other way around. But I don't know. I think we know what Aston Villa are capable of. We know that Watkins can randomly get a 4 goal haul. Like he is capable, and Rogers especially, who I think is an exceptional talent, and maybe should have gone to Spurs when they were having the issues with the financial,
Spurs.
not Spurs per se, but probably should have left for another club when they were having the financial fair play trouble. But yeah, something's got to give, and I hope it's soon. But as an Everton fan, yeah, let it long continue.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, they really struggle. We'll see how they do. Fulham at home, like people said that Sunderland away and Fulham at home were good fixtures, but I don't really think that's necessarily the case. Sunderland away have shown to be a pretty tough side to beat this season, and Fulham are just really solid in general. I think the Burnley fixture at home and the next game week is the more uh, lucrative fixture, but most people will have sold or older Aston Villa assets at that point. So I might be alone with Rodgers at that point. So hopefully that was what happened last season when everyone else benched Rodgers and didn't play him, and I started him. He did really well, so maybe that can happen again. But who knows? I might sell him as well with my own team. Newcastle against Arsenal. I've gone with a 1-0 Arsenal win here, eking out a win and still not escaping the criticisms of not like doing enough offensively, all that stuff. I think Newcastle will basically set up like Man City and try to defend a win here. We've seen Newcastle the last like 2 out of the last 3 game weeks. They've set up with like a super defensive formation, trying to just get a really like a draw or like a eke out a win basically. The one thing that is a bit of a difference there, which might lend itself to more your result of 2-2. I want 1-0 Arsenal, you want 2-2 in this game between two teams, or at least Newcastle haven't really had many goals in their matches. One thing that could point to this is the fact that Arsenal just really need to prove something offensively after the criticisms that they got this past game week, and Newcastle actually have Anthony Gordon back, which is going to be a huge boost to them as well. So is there anything else that makes you go 2-2 in this fixture? Because I was surprised by that high score, because I thought this would be like a low scoring game as it has been previously.
No chance. I think, like you said, there's two teams that need a lot to prove. I think Arsenal need to try and win this game to get back in the race and not get a draw. But I also believe, as someone who saw Barcelona play Newcastle, as seen with the game against Liverpool, as seen with most of their St. James Park games, they are just a very good home side. So
Yeah.
that's why I think they'll show a little bit of spirit and a little bit of love. I'm hoping Yerkes scores both goals, and I hope Gabriel gets 2 own goals before I buy him next week after this game. But yeah, no, just generally speaking, I just think that St. James Park is a special place. Alanga is looking good. I
Is he?
think Anthony
He's
Gordon.
benched.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just seems to have this thing where he benches Barnes and Alanga every other week. It seems
Uh,
so weird. I don't. I think Eddie Howe is doing Guardiola levels of overthinking at times because it doesn't make sense to bench both of them. If one of them's been playing bad, then sure. But I don't think both have been playing bad enough. And I thought Alanga was brilliant against Barcelona, but I also
yeah.
think that he would have been eaten alive if Balde was fit. So it's one of those sort of things. But I
Yeah.
thought he was great against uh,
Barca. Yeah.
Barcelona,
Yeah.
and it's very telling of Man United that the two former Man United talents were the two best players on the pitch for me.
Rashford and
Alanga
Alanga
for Newcastle and yeah, and
for
Marcus
Rashford.
Rashford
Yeah.
for us. So I think just generally speaking, they've looked really good at St. James Park. I think Walter Meda will get or crackhead Gordon will get more minutes. And I just think, generally speaking, um, they just look good at home. I do think Arsenal could eke out a win as they did last year, I believe, which felt like the first time in a long while for them, and all this type of stuff. But I just think Newcastle are good at home.
Yeah. Yeah, that is all fair. We'll see what happens with that game. I think, yeah, Newcastle have had really good results against Arsenal. I think they beat them like, what, 4 times last season? 3 times last season? In the
Yeah.
Cup as well. So yeah. And when it comes to like the rotation for Newcastle, I heard this on, I think it was FPL Wire, a different podcast, that I think it just might be Eddie Howe just trying to rest his players and just have a fully fit squad for the whole season with Champions League in mind. Because they are in the Champions League and they do want to do well in that tournament. Did actually really impress me as well against Barcelona. Like they looked really good and could have easily scored a couple goals in that game. So yeah, plenty of firepower in that team. They just haven't been able to show it so far this season. Also with Wissa out injured, Gordon in the Premier League at least has been suspended. So they have more firepower offensively, but so far they've just been really good defensively, which is why I think it's going to be a struggle for Arsenal to score in this game. But I've just gone with a 1-0 win because, yeah, hopefully, Gyökeres manages to score. Last game is Everton against West Ham, and we both have a 3-1 win for Everton. I'm hoping that will serve as a jinx maybe, but not really that hopeful in terms of West Ham. It seems like Graham Potter is on his way out, and I shared an article with you that said that basically West Ham don't see these next 2 games against Everton and Arsenal away as winnable. So they're just going to keep Potter for those 2 games and then they're going to sack him after that, before the international break. I get like sacking someone before the international break. I also sort of get getting a new manager before an easier run of fixtures rather than a tougher run of fixtures, but it is still 2 games. You can still win against Everton and get some extra points. So yeah, just sack Potter and get Nuno Espirito Santo straight away would be my plea to West Ham. But yeah, 3-1. Who do you have as the goal scorers in this game? That's the more important thing. Like, who do you think will stick out for Everton, mainly in this game with the 3-1 result?
Yeah, I think this is the Moyes derby, as we both
Yeah,
know, as we both have. I don't know if you have a love for him,
I
but you
do
definitely have
definitely,
a fit.
definitely, hugely.
Okay. Okay, well then we're two people who have love for David Moyes
Yeah,
and the Messiah, the king assistant manager chip for me.
yeah, last season, yeah,
And just an absolute king. And yeah, I think he'll want, especially at the new stadium as well, where we are currently undefeated.
yeah,
I just think that currently we look really good at Hill Dickinson. The fans are up for it. The players are up for it. Like, even though I think Moyes got the game plan wrong against Liverpool, where he set
yeah,
us up to not lose, and then when we did start losing, that's when we like, okay, let's start scoring goals and
yeah,
look scary the entire match. Like, I think that's the wrong way to look at it. So it's sort of like what West Ham are doing. They're setting themselves up for failure by going, we can't win this, when of course you can. I don't think that's a smart way of looking at it. But I think we're going to be setting up to play attacking, to get the best out of Grealish, to get the best out of NGI, Dewsbury Hall. Beto Barry, we'll have to wait and see. I think it'll be Beto, to be honest, because Barry still seems a little bit too green, even though
yeah,
Beto has become the ghost of Calvert Lewin with some of his mischances. I do think it will just favor a little bit more of a physical presence in
yeah,
Beto, even though they're both pretty tall. But Beto's a bit more experienced and
yeah,
done the
and
business before.
massive.
So,
It's just incredible.
and I just think that this match suits us with how we're looking currently
Yeah,
more than what it is
and
for you guys.
and
I do
who's
see Bowen scoring. I see in my side, I'd see NDI. Like he's gonna on. He feels just inevitable to score in this game. I
yeah,
think Dewsbury Hall might score in this game too, and
who's going to score
I
the
could
corner
see.
goals? Because it's coming. West Ham can see corner goals every single game. And is it
Michael
Tarkowski,
Keane. If
Michael
Mike,
Keane,
it's gonna
O'Brien
be
scored
Michael
against West Ham
Keane.
last season, right?
Yeah, that's true. He did. I still see give it to Kino as some people call him. I hate him, and I hope Brantwaite is ready. Like, but yeah, I think it feels like a Kino goal. It'll be Tarkowski, just because I've never back because I don't have him currently in my team, and the main reason why is I don't want to. I feel worse jinxing our defenders and our attackers because we're better defensively than we are offensively, in my opinion. But yeah, I feel like it might be Tark as well because he's been really close to score in several games as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do think that West Ham will show a little bit more of themselves. I mean, they still have Paqueta, they still have Somerville, and they have a lot of interesting players. It's just for whatever reason, Graham Potter can't get that out of his players, whilst Moyes, on the other hand, is on cloud nine and just enjoying life. And yeah, just we like I can't believe that the previous manager was Sean fucking Dyche. Like utter woke nonsense. Get him out of the club. I'm so glad he's gone. Like I'm so glad this it's Moyes that is the one who's getting to lead us to the Hill Dickinson Stadium, like
Yeah.
unveiling, opening, debut, all this type of stuff. And it made perfect sense that, NDI was the last person to score at Goodison Park, and he was the first person to score at Hill Dickinson, and will be a fun trivia question for players in like 20 to 30 years time when once he's in Everton folklore and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a really like I think we could have done even better than we've had so far. Like I think we should have beaten Villa, for example. But other than that, the defeat against Liverpool, fair enough, I guess. And yeah, I can't remember. Have we lost any other game?
Wolves in the
No.
cup.
Yeah, which is again stupid, but
Yeah.
that's what you get for playing like a bunch of players who've not played properly together first team football. So
Lost against Leeds in the
yeah.
opening night.
Oh yeah, of course, stupid loss. But I put that more to our hoodoo against newly promoted sides on opening day. We tend like even against Norwich once upon a time, we just drew when everyone thought that was going to be like a 5-0 win and
Yeah.
all types of craziness. So yeah, you know what? I believe in the boys. Spirits of the blue. Let's get another win.
Yeah. It seems like that's going to be likely, but who knows? West Ham, I thought were likely to lose against Nottingham Forest in Game Week 3, and then they won 3-0. So have enough firepower in the team. Bowen, Paqueta, like Somerville, a lot of good players in that squad. So Ward-Prowse maybe scores the free kick now since we talked about it, and
Yeah.
ties up David Beckham. That's all the thing. He's been one goal away from David Beckham's record for so long now. Who knows if he'll ever get it at this point. But yeah, those were the fixtures for this upcoming game week. Let's take a look at the fixtures in a more long-term perspective and who has the better fixtures over the next 6 game weeks. And Arsenal are the team that stick out, maybe even more so from game week 7 onwards because they have Newcastle away now, which is a tough fixture. But 2-2 for you, 1-0 for me. Like, could be a defensive return, could be attacking return. Who knows? Arsenal are kind of like not fixture proof. No team is really fixture proof when they face like the toughest teams, but Arsenal could get points any which way, I think. So yeah, Arsenal first and foremost. Which assets are you looking for Arsenal? Gabriel and Gyökeres are like the main ones. I have them myself, but I'm currently looking at if I were to add a third Arsenal player, for example. Who would it be? Because there are quite a lot of candidates. A lot of people are going with Raya. You have the fullbacks of Calafiori and Timber, who's people are avoiding them because they feel like they are rotation risk potentially. I'm not sure if I buy too much into that because they played every game so far pretty much since Timber came back from injury. You have Eze in midfield who didn't play this past game, but they got a lot of criticism for it, and he's most likely going to play from now on. You have Saka who's back. He's starting now in the cup actually as we're speaking right now. Arsenal are already readying up to play in the cup, and you guys listening will know the result of that. And then they also have Gyökeres up front, who has been struggling in these bigger games as people were sort of expecting before the season. But against the lesser teams like Nottingham Forest, he scored, and against Leeds, he scored twice. So he's been good in those games, which is what's going to happen from game week 7 onwards, especially. So which assets are you looking at from Arsenal yourself? Because you don't have any Arsenal assets, and you need to get some potentially. So who are you looking at from Arsenal in total? Like, what's like the priority there?
Calm down. I do have Gyökeres, but
Oh, you do have Gyökeres, yeah, true.
in terms of defense, yeah, obviously Gabriel, Capitan, all this type of bullshit. So yeah, sure, Gabriel is someone I'm looking to get back. I am also considering the likes of Calafiori or Timber. I like Saka. Saka is someone I've always rated, and I still think is a big reason why, as to why Arsenal haven't had as much success lately. Eze is also a great little differential. I just think that as a can't explode as much as Saka can in that regard. So a part of me favors him, but I also love the fact that Saka's like almost 3 million more. So maybe I should consider getting uh Eze. But yeah, I would say generally speaking, if you want to go if you can't get Gabriel and you want someone cheaper, you could always just ride it out and take yeah, potentially take the Raya route because you know he's never going to be rotated out. But I think the point of Arsenal defenders over their goalkeeper is all of them get into the fun. It's not
Yeah.
just specifically just one person. So yeah, I would consider their fullbacks. I would consider Gabriel. But right now, I think I'll wait until the West Ham game and also want to see how West Ham look against us as well before making any decisions. Of course, I'm hoping West Ham get the snot beaten out of them and look bad and go into looking bad against Arsenal too. And then afterwards, West Ham can start winning games again. And that's when, realistically, their matches look a little bit better too.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. But I would rate it as number one, Gyökeres currently. Number two, Gabriel. Number three, I would go on a limb and say Saka, to be fair, because I
Yeah.
think Saka, even without penalties, is still a great asset. If anything, he'll want to be even hungrier in terms of taking shots and stuff like that
Yeah.
because he can't take pens. So, uh, and I think he'll just be a big asset to Gyökeres, as we've seen with Gyökeres
Yeah.
as well. If you serve it to him on a platter, he will bury it,
Yeah.
and he does
He's
make
going
those
to.
really advanced runs and really knows how to when to make those leaps. And I think that's the thing that's been lacking from Arsenal lately, that level of direct play. And
Yeah.
what is it that happens lately? Whenever they do direct play like that, they score.
Yeah.
So more of that, please.
Yeah, we'll see. There's also like a case to be made. I think like the next, like people say that they have a good fixture run from Game Week 7, and that is correct. But also, Game Week 8 and Game Week 9 are Fulham and Crystal Palace, two pretty good defensive sides, in my opinion at least. Newcastle also really good defensively. So I'm thinking with that two defensive players are more the route I would go. But of course, you famously always say that you don't like doubling up on defense, so that makes sense that you wouldn't do that. But I think there's also a case to be made if you have your free hit chip left and you don't have any Arsenal players. You could also just use your free hit chip in Game Week 7 and target the West Ham fixture, and then wait for Game Week 10 to properly jump on Arsenal assets like long term, if that's in your plans. So yeah, I think that's also like a viable option. Saka is a really good shout, especially for Game Week 7, because he has a really good history against West Ham. He usually scores pretty well in that game. Could even go with Declan Rice, who's also scored against West Ham in the past. Potentially, he's also taking corners, and like you said, could potentially take some more shots eventually this season. So yeah, Arsenal are an interesting team. Spurs are also kind of interesting, but they're also sort of fading away a little bit. I think for me,
Is that what you want to see from Declan Rice?
yeah, he's done that before. But Spurs are an interesting team. Of course, they are the second best team in this fixture ticker rankings. But I think, like for me, for example, I'm not really going to buy a Spurs player now because they're going to get tougher fixtures from Game Week 9 onwards. I feel like it's a bit too late for me to jump on them. I want someone more long-term, personally. But they have three amazing fixtures for defenders. Wolves at home, Leeds away, and Aston Villa at home. Three teams that have really struggled to score so far this season. So, yeah, if you have Pedro Porro like yourself, if you have Van de Ven, if you have Romero especially, even if you have a Dogi who looked really good this past game week, offensively at least, just stick to them basically when it comes to Spurs. The other team I want to talk about really is the main team that we're going to focus on this game week, especially with the next with Game Week 6 plans, which we're going to get to pretty soon, and that is Man City, because they have Burnley at home, Brentford away now, which are two really good fixtures. Everton at home is also like technically a pretty good fixture, but I think it's going to be a bit tough, especially with Branthwaite most likely back for that fixture after the international break. And then after that, they have some tougher fixtures, but the next two especially, they're looking really good. So Haaland and Reijnders are already in both of our teams. I think they're the two like standout City assets, in my opinion at least. But if we were to pick a third City asset potentially, or someone like a differential from Man City, where would you look to go, do you think, in terms of their squad? Because they have a lot of potential good options. So any City assets apart from Reijnders and Haaland that stick out to you, or do you think just keeping those two and just staying away from them in general is the main part. Foden is now also starting in the cup, so doesn't bode well too much for his minutes in the league, I think. But yeah, what do you think for Man City going forward the next two game weeks in particular?
Yeah, no, I think it's just one of those cases of I think they have a lot of good assets, which is quite interesting to talk about. Like, I think one of the main things that I like about Man City is I think Doku has looked incredible this season
Mm-hmm.
and finally living up to sort of the hype and love that I expected out of him. Um, I also think that Foden is a good option. Like, yes, this might not warrant him to play, but I think if anything, he's just trying to get as much minutes into Foden so he can finally be fully fit to start really making damage because we know what a fully fit Phil Foden can do. We've seen him do some nice things in the Champions League with against Napoli. We saw him obviously score against Man United. Like the kid is obviously capable of doing a lot more. I also think Doku for sure is someone I'd, if you don't have Reijnders for some reason, you could always just take a stab at Doku because I think offensively he is always up there. He's doing these amazing runs. His goal against Napoli was incredible. Like I don't know if you've seen it, like where he just like slaloms past a bunch of
Yeah,
players.
it's amazing.
Like that is why City bought him. Like that is what
Yeah.
he is. That is the pinnacle of what he can do, sort of thing, and the absolute his ceiling. And yeah, I just I was just very impressed with him, and I think that he can do well. I obviously like the look of Guardiola. Always, I think he's such a
Yeah.
stable player. I like Ait Nouri. I think he's capable of a lot more
It's
once he's
injured
back from
still though.
injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, once he's back from injury. I also think Rodri, once he's fully fit, could be a sneaky pick for a lot of
Yeah.
people as well. He will get the DEF CON. He will start getting amongst the goals and assists,
Yeah.
and he is just an incredible player. There is a reason why he won the Ballon d'Or, and
Do you
I
do you
don't think he's
Yeah, do you think Reijnders is affecting him negatively though? That's the only issue I have with Rodri now. Like I feel like Reijnders is sort of
no.
taking up that role of going into the box, or do you think like Rodri can still do the same
I
despite?
think they're that in. I think they're that interchangeable that
Okay.
it'll be fine. I think if anything, um, yes, Reinders will be the more attacking out of the two, which is why I'll always pick Reinders. But if you're looking for that DEFCON plus sort of thing, Roger's going to be there, and I think Rodri is still capable of more than what he's shown. So I think they're both really good picks as well, because there might be a point, and it would be really cool. I mean, if they're both essential, but I think yeah, I think, as you said it, Holland and Reinders are one and two, and then
Yeah.
three, I would say, is between Guardiola and Doku,
Yeah.
like as a slash.
Yeah, I think that is fair as well. I also have made like a rankings as I always do with these teams and like just how I see them currently in terms of teams that you want to face. For me, it is still Burnley. I think they're the team to face, and that's the team that City are facing at home this game week. So we'll get into that pretty soon with the current plans for pretty much all teams when it comes to Haaland and potentially triple captaining and just talking about that in general. More in depth, but yeah, these are my team rankings currently from best to worst as it stands right now. Not necessarily how it's going to end the table, but just like in terms of current form and all that stuff. I think Aston Villa will, of course, do a lot better eventually this season. They'll have to with the players that they do have, but currently, I would not be too mad at targeting Aston Villa, but they do have Fulham and Burnley, not the best assets from those two teams, especially offensively. Yeah, don't really think we need to do too much more when it comes to the rankings. I just wanted to post them here for you guys watching to see. Let's move on to the weekly wildcard draft that I made, and it's pretty similar to one that I had last week, but I've done a couple of tweaks here. I've downgraded Mateta, for example, who has tougher fixtures now, to Foster, and that has given me enough money to have both Timber and Paquetá in the team as well. I've also downgraded Vicario to Petrovic because I think he's just better long-term for a cheaper price, basically. So the big question now on wildcard for anyone that's wildcarding is Haaland and Salah, or just Haaland basically, or if Haaland is injured now, which I think is overblown. I don't think that's like a thing. I think he's just being rested, and there's also an excuse because why he took him off against Arsenal early. I think Haaland's going to be fine, but you've been pretty staunchly pro Haaland and Salah, and not just one of them. Is that still your stance for Game Week 6, or do you think now with Salah's tougher-ish fixtures, Chelsea away or Crystal Palace away and Chelsea away, these next two, do you think there's an option to go with someone else like an Mbeumo, for example, or go with Isak eventually rather than going with Salah? With Isak now coming into the Liverpool team, and Salah also haven't really been the best so far this season, or do you still just say just have Salah and Haaland, and for what reason if that's the case?
I mean, I think it's just one of those cases of um, they are two of the most expensive assets in the Prem. There's a reason for that. The results will come for both in that regards. I think Holland can continue his fine form. I haven't seen enough of a dip in Salah for me to go, oh my God, I need to get rid of him now because he's not flowing reverts. I don't understand why people are constantly like, and I get it, he's not as expensive as Salah, yada yada yada. But we would have sold Salah by now if he was blanking as hard as Wirtz was every single week. So he is still getting goals. He is bound to get bullshit pens because that is Salah's MO. You know, he loves the penalty goal. And I think they will come, you know, build it and they will come, as they said in Field of Dreams. So, old Kevin Costner film for you. But yeah, I just think that Crystal Palace, yes, they're a bit of a bogey team for uh, Salah and Liverpool in general, but he has a pretty decent record against them. He has been scoring against Chelsea lately, and also with
Yeah.
Palmer out for that fixture, I think Chelsea will be in a bit more trouble, which is why I want to ship the hell out of Mr. Guy in Sanchez. And Man United is Salah's bread and butter as someone who actually kept Salah that one time where he got like 20 points and a lot of people had sold him and or benched him or whatever
Free him
stupid.
away.
Yeah, all types of things. So I think Salah is worth having. And I think until we notice like like more than one blank, you know, sort of thing, he hasn't blanked really that badly this year. He
Yep.
hasn't exploded that badly this year, but he's capable of so much more. And I know that he's got that in him, especially because other players are performing outside of him. Chiesa's looking good. Ekitike has, you know, gone got the game running now, and he sucks in the team. So I think Salah is uh, he is a very nice guy, but I think he's egotistical enough to start performing better as well. He has that such high demand of himself, and that's arguably why he's one of the best Premier League assets in a long time and one of the best in the history of the Premier League. So, yeah, I think keep the faith if you still have him. I understand that some people sold him to get Haaland. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but as someone who's had both from the start and then wildcarded and still kept both, I'm I'm very happy. I feel like I'm covering enough bases by doing that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And also, obviously, I've gone with the Salah Holland draft myself because I do think it is just a better tactic. Also, it just gives you more flexibility. Like if you sell Salah, you're going to spend that money all across your team. So you're going to spread the wealth around through like four different players. And that's harder to get that money back because you need to do several transfers to get all those funds back, basically. With Salah, you can just test him out, see if it's worth it against Palace and Chelsea. If he's not, if Isak looks amazing all of a sudden, you can easily just sell Salah and get in Isak for Foster, for example, upgrade there. As you can see on the cost section there, I have Mbeumo and Isak as an alternative to Salah and Foster, which will give you like a stronger like full team, but you also don't have the same security as you have with Salah in terms of how good he's been for Liverpool, and also like Man United at home, that is one of Salah's favorite fixtures. And I think Man United, as it currently stands, that could be a bloodbath for Liverpool and Salah. So, yeah, I think it's just safer to go with Salah. And also, I think this team is quite strong. Like, I don't really think there's that many things, like, bad with it. Like, I wish I could have had NDI over Dewsbury Hall, for example. I wish I had, like, Gyökeres also up front. That's, like, why I personally, with my own team, I sold Salah myself. Because the next 2 game weeks, I can go without him, and then I can buy him back. But I think if I was on a wild card, and I could change my whole team around and have like a fully um, really strengthened 15-man squad, I think I would still keep Salah, but it's just I need some more flexibility basically for my own team without a wildcard and waiting for a wildcard for game week 13, where I'm going to get Salah back anyway at that point at least. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the team as well and the Salah Haaland discussion. I think we both agree that you should go with Salah and Haaland because it is just a bit more safe and it leaves you more flexibility eventually to react to other things happening. Gyökeres as well. I do quite like him for that West Ham fixture. I think he's going to score a couple goals there, so that's why it's a bit hard to leave him out. You can always do Joao Pedro to Gyökeres as well next game week if you have the transfer funds. You could find a way to do that as well. Maybe downgrading like a Romero or something, or someone like that to get more money. Or Paquetá to someone like that doesn't play that much, but yeah. Anyways, that is the weekly wildcard drafts. If you want all my thoughts about all these players, you can check out the weekly wildcard draft video that I made earlier this week. That will be in the YouTube channel, so just find it and you'll see my reasoning for all 15 picks in this draft, basically. Now let's move on to Kevin's current plans for Game Week 6. And I don't really have any transfers lined up because you said you wanted to do a goalkeeper move potentially. Sanchez playing at home to Brighton this game week, who's your starting goalkeeper. You also said potentially a defensive move because you have currently Diouf starting against Everton away, which is not ideal with Dewsbury Hall there, and you think Everton will win 3-1. So those are some things you could change. You said potentially selling a defender, potentially moving on Sanchez to someone else. Also just put down triple captain. I think it makes sense. Like, first and foremost, how certain are you that you're going to triple captain this game week since you've used all your other chips the following previous 3 game weeks now? It seems to make sense with Haaland playing Burnley at home. Like, how certain are you for Haaland with triple captaincy there?
Kind of don't care. So why the fuck not?
Yeah, you're just gonna go for it.
Yeah, man, I almost did it against United. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
should have.
you know, and me, well, I triple captained him last week in game week 2. So yeah, man, just
Last
gonna ride
season,
the
yeah.
wave, and I think it's classic Bip.
Pep.
It's classic Pep bullshit. With the like, I don't not believe him, but also believe he's, like you said, embellishing how bad it actually is.
Yeah,
He's gonna start Haaland. He's gonna get a hat trick and sub him off after one half. It's gonna be annoying.
yeah. After 1.5, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, maybe. But yeah, I think Friday when we at the press conference, we'll probably know a lot more. He's probably just gonna say, who knows with Guardiola, because he is sometimes like a bit, secretive with what he says. But I think he's just gonna say Haaland's ready to play. He's fine. And everyone's gonna triple captain him, or like a lot of people are. But some people are on a wildcard, for example, or a free hit. I think less and less people are doing that now because they have realized that you want Haaland and Semenyo long term, not just for one game week. So yeah, but yeah, I also think the triple captaincy thing is pretty simple. Burnley at home is my favorite fixture this season. Haaland is my favorite captaincy candidate this season, so it all lines up perfectly. And we know, if we know that he's healthy, at least we know that he's going to play, and we know that there's no bullshit rotation and stuff like that. It could happen later on in the season. There is still that one small chance of double game week potentially coming for a couple teams around game week 16, 17. So you could wait for that if you feel a bit anxious about Haaland, especially if he is injured. There are other good captaincy or triple captaincy opportunities, but I think it makes a lot of sense to just use it now if he's healthy and ready to play, which I assume he will be still, even though he has been yellow flagged now actually in FPL. The rest of your team though, any potential transfers that you're looking to do, and which players would you then bring in, and who would you sell as well? Like you said, Sanchez out, which makes sense, but if you were to buy a new defender as well, you have 2 free transfers, 0.0 in the bank though. Which defender would you look to sell potentially if that's the case?
Potentially Richards, potentially Juff. I think I can get more out of Richards in terms of value because Juff went down, even though he got a cheeky assist. You motherfuckers who sold him, pricks. And yeah, bench boost assist.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it would be Richards. It, it's such a sideways move. It could be Pedro Porro soon, but
Yeah,
soon, not this week. So, because yeah, he's not. I don't feel like he's doing enough to uh, warrant the 5.5.
yeah.
Like, I think that should be Gabriel Magalhaes. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's going to be potentially Richards and Sanchez, and then the week after, especially if they concede against Wolves. Oh my God, get the hell out of my team.
Yeah, but you need the funds if that's the case. He's zero point 0.6 more expensive than Porro, and he has
Yeah,
0.3 on the bank.
so if I save a little bit from Sanchez to Petrovic, for example, if
Yeah,
I actually do the double up, and I do have Dubravka who has like leads at home at some point and all this type of stuff,
yeah.
there could be a little bit of cheeky rotations going on.
You still wouldn't
But
have
I
enough for
think
Gabriel
it's
though. Porro to
shut your
Gabriel.
helm. What the hell are you talking about? Okay, so I'd probably make Richards into someone fun. I'd make Sanchez into Petrovic and then just take it from there. And maybe even look at maybe a Calafiori or Timber because I
Yeah,
do like what they offer as well. Because Gabriel has been super unlucky, to be fair. He's had some glancing headers go wide,
yeah.
but he's getting closer, to be fair.
Yeah, he's going to score now that everyone brings him in, probably, since I had him since game week 1. But he's done well for me so far anyway. Got DEFCON points as well in one game, so I like that. I do
Yeah.
actually have like a cheeky little thing here, because you said Sanchez Petrovic. I think that's the best goalkeeper move, especially for this game week with Leeds away for Bournemouth. I think that's a pretty good game week to go for that. But also, to save yourself that extra 0.1, you could do Richards, who's 4.5 or 4.6 now, but you won't be able to sell him for 4.6. If you sell him at 4.5, to Udogi at 4.4, double up with the Spurs defense, and then next week you can do Pedro Porro to Gabriel, and you still have one Spurs player for the 2 easy fixtures after that.
But do we know for sure that like
That's the issue.
is he really? That's the thing. Is he really gonna start benching Jed Spence? And is he going to like that's my issue. My issue is not
Maybe he benches Pedro
having
Porro for
jump.
Jed Spence. Who
No.
knows? No, why
I
not?
don't think I don't think Pedro Porro's been poor enough for them to like that's the issue with Pedro Porro. He's been perfectly fine. He's just not been the crazy attacking outlet that we know that he's capable of being.
Yeah, just
I
Udogi has
think
been.
huh?
Udogi can be that.
I understand that, but I think just generally speaking, they're going to be happy with how Porro's been playing because Porro hasn't played poorly.
Yeah.
I don't think Spence has played poorly either.
Udogi looked
I
good as well.
think I think Adogi looked good. I think Adogi, it could be Adogi and Porro rather than Adogi and Spence. I just, yeah, I just don't see where Porro gets benched because I think he's been too good. My
Spence.
biggest issue is on my wild card instead of Jif, I should have just gone Van de Ven because I actually did have enough to double up, and the double up would have been fine.
Both Spence and Porro are actually playing now in the cup against Doncaster Rovers. Other players are Kinski, Danso, Gray, Bentancur, Palinha, Mattis Tell, Brennan Johnson, Xavi Simons, and Wilson Odebear. So quite a few
A
players getting
bunch of
rest there.
starters and a bunch of players who are starters.
Couple of starters, couple of bench players. So it's kind of hard to read anything from that lineup, I think, who's going to
Yeah.
play. But I think Jed Spence, especially if he gets 90 minutes in this game, I think there's a decent chance that Udogi plays at least the next game, seeing he's on the bench.
I could always risk it for a biscuit, and because at long term it can lead me towards what I want, which is
Yeah,
Gabriel.
yeah.
So
It would save exactly enough funds to go from Pedro Porro to Gabriel next week and still have a Spurs defender who's not that expensive for the next 2 games as well, if he keeps playing. That's the thing. But I think that's actually kind of like, I just thought about it right now. So, yeah, but Wolves at home, I think that's a really nice team to target. And double Spurs defense there, you're going to have like a lot of extra points there if both start. That's the only issue. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the cup. Maybe someone gets injured as well. Maybe Jed Spence gets injured, and then that would make it easier. Maybe Pedro Porro gets injured, and that would make it tougher, or I guess easier to sell him now. But yeah, other than that, I think your team looks really good, actually. I think it's looking super nice. So I think you're going to have a good game. We can potentially another green arrow and go even further up the table. Which is already good, 219k overall, which is really, really nice, especially with the triple captaincy chip. You can do a lot better for the rank, or even better for the rank, for that matter, for Game Week 6. So yeah, that's your team. let's go to Kimo's team, and this requires quite a lot more surgery. No Haaland in this team, and that's what I've been looking to do. You could always do like a wildcard or anything like that, but I think actually like apart from the transfers, like once these transfers are made that I've suggested for Kimo here, I think the team is actually looking pretty good. So if Kimo does Wirtz to Reijnders, Watkins to Guiu, who you can bench, and then Wood to Haaland, you would have Sells and goal against Sunderland, like Nick Williams at home against Sunderland, Konsa at home to Fulham, who are not that good offensively, Poro at home to Wolves, which is a good game, Dewsbury Hall at home to West Ham, Kudus at home to Wolves, Fernandes away to Brentford, Salah away to Palace. You'd have Joe Pedro at home to Brighton, and then you have Haaland and Reijnders at home to Burnley. I think that sounds like a really, really good team for this game week. It does cost him 3 transfers, so that is the downside, but I think even next week the team is going to look pretty good as well. So I think he can do that, and then also activate the triple captaincy chip. That's a way to get Haaland triple captaincy, because if you do a wildcard, for example, you can't do triple captain at the same time. So what do you think of those 2 moves? What do you think of Kimo's team in total, in general? Anything else you would do? Is it like is it time to sell Wirtz and Watkins? Huh?
Yeah, it's almost time to wildcard, so
yeah, would you rather wildcard and miss the triple captaincy opportunity, or would you do these 3 transfers and have a really
I do the
team?
3 transfers and eventually wildcard, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just do the God damn it, just do the wait a second, just bear with me 1 second. Just 1 second.
Also, selling Wirtz, Watkins, and Wood just must feel good.
Kimo, we're currently recording the podcast and we're sending this into the chat. This is the game week 6 plans for you. These are the suggested transfers. Could you do the suggested transfers so you can stop falling behind? Thank you very much.
Fair. Good voice note.
It's not a voice note, it's a video. So.
Oh, okay. Even better. Fair. Yeah, let's see if he does it this time. So you do approve, I guess, of the transfers and the plans.
Yes. Great players. The guy who loves Pep Guardiola and has never had a single Pep Guardiola player.
Milan fan who doesn't like Reijnders.
Yeah. It makes little to no sense, and it's very obvious as to why he's falling behind quite a bit, because of the fact that he did not buy into both the Arsenal and City hype, because both teams have had players doing great. So it's time.
Hey, why buy into the Wolves or the City and Arsenal hype when you can buy into triple Nottingham Forest and double Aston Villa?
Relegation fantasy football from Kimo there.
Yeah. And double Burnley, of course, as well.
Crazy talk. You can have double those guys and not have a single City asset, including Reijnders, who's the cheapest bastard in the world. But you'll have Wirtz, who's done nothing over 5 weeks. Craziness.
Look good preseason, though. People had him. Bought him.
He was fine, but something's got to give, man. Like, you can't wait this long to get rid of him at that point. Like, you should have already gotten rid of him once you noticed. Like, he's not doing much.
Yeah, it's the allure of the
that Liverpool fixtures. Are capable of winning without one of their most expensive players is very telling. So I still believe he can, of course, he is one of the best players in the world. He's not lived up to this standards that I know he's capable of, because it's very telling that he goes off to Germany and scores a free kick immediately. So, like, it's a confidence thing. It's also the fact that Liverpool are winning matches, so there is even less of a demand for him to like get amongst the goals. Because if Liverpool are struggling, he'd be in big doo-doo to not get going, because they're winning and stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, he's shown flashes of what he's capable of, but he needs to do more. 100%. Ekitike took the ground running and just fucking went for it. And
to the point where,
and also then got a red card like an idiot. So beautiful stuff. But that also means he gets to play now, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think that's like there's just like a lesson for next season when you go to the Game Week 1 squad. This team is like, in terms of fixtures, it's peaking about now with Man United players getting better fixtures now, Nottingham Forest players getting better fixtures now, Aston Villa players getting better fixtures now, but you can't really tell if they're going to be the best players to have in those game weeks, and you're going to be sort of stuck, like non-performing players getting into good fixtures. What the hell do you do? Do you sell them? Do you keep them? It is a big of an issue, so I think that's going to be a lesson for next season for Kimo especially, but season is not lost. You have all chips remaining, and I think with these transfers, you're going to be in a pretty good position. Currently, you just have to find out what to do with the Nottingham Forest players after this game week, because they are going to get some tougher fixtures. Some that at home I think is fine, especially for two defensive players. But yeah, I think these transfers are the best course of action for Kimo, and let's see if he actually goes along with the suggested transfers this time around. I remember actually, like, he was really close to doing Verts to Semenyo, like giving 2 or 3, and he didn't do it. He went for Wood instead up front. So yeah, some lessons to be learned there, especially when he benched Nico Williams and Sells this past game week. Yeah, you need to step up your game, Kimo, if you're watching. Yeah, let's move on to the Manager of the Week, the final piece of the agenda here. I think this team is a bit less like interesting in general. I think triple captaincy is just again pretty much a given if Haaland is ready to play. Other than that, Mateta is like the one downside, but I think selling Johnson is the more like priority because he's not even playing. So Johnson to Njai, you can just start Njai and bench Mateta, because Mateta from game week 10 onwards, he actually has really good fixtures. So you could stash him on your bench. You could sell him eventually, maybe next game week for Gyökeres, for example. Could be an idea. Maybe you want to downgrade it to Dewsbury Hall to get the money to do Mateta to Gyökeres next game week. That is an option. The goalkeepers, I'm just not sold on. Verbruggen concedes every single game. He's not that good of a goalkeeper, honestly. And Brighton just keep conceding, and he has Dubravka as the backup goalkeeper. So I think for Bruggen, who has Chelsea away, really tough fixture in terms of keeping a clean sheet, to Petrovic, who I do think is the best goalkeeper currently, at 4.5 against Leeds, is a really nice jumping on point for him as well. So those are the two suggested transfers that I have for him. Two different options. He could go with just one of them or both, or maybe do a little bit of a different thing there in general. But what do you reckon for this team with transfers? Do you think these are sensible transfers? Any other players you would wish to have? Would you go with Ndiaye, or would you go with Dewsbury Hall in this instance, for example? Like, what is your thinking with the Manager of the Week and the plans for Max Smithson going forward?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, with this team, it does look good. Obviously, with the 11, it's a bit tricky because he might be forced into playing Munoz or Esteve. I don't know which one of the two that he'll end up playing. So
If
that is
Maria's injured.
potential. Yeah, and but I think the two suggested transfers are pretty great. It's just a question of um, whether he'll pull the trigger for those. I think both are good options. I think long term, both make so much sense. NGI has been easily our best player. I think Petrovic is just a good shout. I think they seem to be good at home. They seem to be decent away from home as well. So why not go with Bournemouth defense double up? I myself not the biggest fan of a double up, but I'm considering it. So yeah, I think it could be okay, and I think other than that, I think the team looks good. Mateta could be more of a pressing matter for next week instead, where he can free up, and there are some nicer fixtures coming up as well where he can target. If we know more for Charleston, that could be like a fun shout if you want to get that sort of Spurs asset in, or potentially looking at getting their defense. And if you want, you could potentially change Murillo to someone else and get Johnson for someone else and keep Verbruggen for 1 week. But I think the ones suggested are the best ones to go for.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I think definitely consider triple captaining Haaland. You have all the chips left. You might as well, and you've capitalized on a good start. But now to really get into gear, use a chip, and I think the best chip to use this week is definitely triple captain Haaland.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so as well. And I think I like both transfers, but I also would ideally probably just save one of the two transfers available, do only Johnson to Ndiaye, and then keep two transfers for the next game week and do Murillo to Gabriel and Mateta to Gyökeres. I think that will be enough money in the bank, potentially with Johnson to Ndiaye. I haven't really worked out the math, but 2 million in the bank, you get 0.5 extra because Johnson is 7.0 and Ndiaye is 6.5. Still, he hasn't gone up in price, surprisingly, so far. So you'd have 2.5 million in the bank. I think that's enough for Mateta 7.5, Gyökeres is 9.0, that's 1.5 million, and then you have an extra million. Yeah, you'll be able to get Gabriel and Gyökeres next game week if you want to do that, if you do just Johnson to Ndiaye. So I think that works out fine. Goalkeeper transfers aren't really that big of a priority. I just think Petrovic is a really good long-term pick, and he has leads away. So you could go with that, but I would probably suggest just Johnson to Ndiaye and do the double Arsenal transfers in the next game week. But all chips remaining, pretty good rank so far. Into the top 1 million you have gone with the last week with 71 points. You became Manager of the Week. Congrats for that. And as always, anyone watching, you can also be the Manager of the Week if you have the highest score in the FPL Scope Mini League. So join the Mini League with the league code FNPQ83. And if you have the highest score in one particular game week, you will get featured on the podcast, just like Max Smithson just was right now. And with all that out of the way, that is the end of the podcast, basically. And as always, I'm just going to leave it with the final word for Kevin before we end the podcast. So take it away, Kevin, and send us off.
Triple captain Haaland, everyone.